All right, what is up, guys? VV back with another video, and today we gotta talk about Black Yellow Charlotte Linlin. Okay, we just gotta talk about it. So let's just go ahead and straight up get her out of the way. We know it's a Black Yellow deck. So how are we gonna build this in OP-04? What's going to change? What are we gonna move around, change around, and keep and get rid of, and so on? And so first things first, I want to show you all the list I'm currently working on. This deck is not complete. This is not finalized. It's the gears are starting to turn, and I'm starting to get an idea for what I want to run in this deck. So right away, the 2K counter we used to run, I was running Strusen for the yellow, and I was running what's her name? Suru for the black 2K counter. Not that you have to mix and match. You could have ran Sanji. It doesn't matter. But now I think we go... I personally think Bartolomeo and Beige are just the superior 2K counters. It's not a bad idea to have more than 8... I've only got 8 2K counters in this first list, right? So it's not finished. Like I said, we're going through the baby steps, right? Baby steps first. But I will say this. We are running 28 blockers main deck. And you see all of them right here. 8 times 4 is what? Excuse me, other than Beige. 8 times 7, or 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, now yes, Bartolomeo will probably typically be a 2K counter, but you get the point there. Beige is just an incredible 2K counter with that incredible trigger. What I'm trying to do with this current list is just full stabilization, as much value as I can get from my life cards, and yeah, I mean I'm trying to cheat in as many cards as possible with like Charlotte Brûlée, Nefeltari Vivi. Let's go ahead and count the triggers. We have 1, 2, 3, 12 trigger play this card blockers. 12 trigger play blockers. We have 4 impact waves, 2 King Kong gun, 2 Thunderbolt, and 2 Narkabura arrow. So that's 2, 4, 6, 10 events that can trigger, and then 12, 22. Actually, it probably just says it down here, doesn't it? Yep, I didn't have to do all that counting. So half of the cards in the deck are triggers. I would like to be able to fit in 6 King Pistol. A lot of people know. A lot of people who follow this channel know I absolutely love that card. I think it's so nice how you can get the extra value from cards like this with 6 King Pistol, and the trigger's not exactly horrible. KO 1 or less and draw a card. But every card in this deck is a 1K or 2K, and then doubles over as a blocker. For the most part, Beige is a different kind of exception. It's kind of like a blocker, right? Just in a different way. Narkabura arrow is going to be a minus 3K. Now, Impact Wave is a 4K, but then you have utility in Thunderbolt and King Kong gun. Up to one of your Dressrosa type characters gains this effect, so we are running 3 Monkey D. Luffy as one of our win conditions. We have Sabo we can use it on, and we have Bartolomeo. We don't have a lot of Dressrosa targets currently, and the card might just not be good for what we're trying to do. And that's not a bad thing, right? Because if the card ends up not being good at what we're trying to do, well, that means we'll have 5 spots open, because we can move out the 2 King Kong guns and take out the 3 Luffys. Because I kind of put the Luffy in to synergize with that and to help us get board control by eating up our opponent's cards, and to kind of save us from like a mill loss. Like if we get in a long attrition battle with someone, it could be pretty decent in that regard. Just 2 Sakazukis, only 2 Sakazukis, because it's Remember, our leader's effect is going to cause us to trash a card every activation. So I don't want to run too much trash cards here. But 2 cards here that KO 5 or less, 2 Thunderbolts KO 5 or less. This should be fine. We got the Impact Wave triggers for KOing 4 or less. And I will say this, GGKKG, or Gum Gum King Kong Gun, has an insanely powerful trigger. It's a Shirahoshi trigger. So, like, in my mind... it's almost like, well, you don't even have to run Shirahoshi anymore. Not that I ever did, but you don't have to run Shirahoshi. You could just run the Gum Gum King Kong gun, and then kind of get effects that way, potentially. We'll have to see. What else? What else? We get Sanji in the deck. We've had Borsalino. We've had Fukuro. We're gonna put Sabo and Sanji going in the deck. This is just, y'all see how intense these blockers are, right? Sabo, Borsalino, Fukuro are just incredible blockers, and then you have all these strong utility blockers in Sanji, Bartolomeo, Vivi, and Brule. We got Charlotte Linlin as our win condition, our main win condition. I'm even considering, like I said, like maybe even going down a Luffy and just going for Charlotte Linlin. I don't know. I'll keep it at 3 and 3 for my early testing, but I do feel like the Luffy can be decent in this deck. Because for those who don't know, you don't need any Dressrosa interaction with this character to make it work. It's a 7-cost 7K with this character can attack active characters, and then activate main. Once per turn, you may return 7 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order. Set this character to active. Then during your next refresh phase, he cannot be set as active, or be set to active. Now, yes, we won't have Core to Coliseum to give him rush, but you know, in a deck like this, we're probably going to have all of these blockers down. And worst case scenario, we play him when we have 10 Dawn, we play him for 7, and then we drop a Vivi, a Brule, a Fukuro, or a Bartolomeo. You know, there's just so many options. And that's pretty much it for this list. Like, I don't have a lot to talk about just yet. Now, as far as other things I've considered, because of course I always consider other possibilities. Like I said, 6 King pistol is always a consideration for me whenever I build a black deck. What else? We also got, where is the one? There it is, Barrier. That's what I was looking for. Barrier is definitely a consideration if we're going to be running a little bit of the cards from the Dressrosa engine and we're going to be building towards attrition in late game. Well, typically speaking, this is going to be a 1-cost 4K, and this is probably going to be able to combo with a new card coming out. Sorry guys, got to zip down here in Yamato. 9 cost, 9,000 power, on play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost that is equal to or less than the total life of you and your opponent. Then if you have 1 or less life, you may add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to your life area. So, bare minimum, we're gaining a life with this card, right? Because y'all, everyone who knows, anyone who's played Black Yellow Charlotte Linlin knows you kind of stabilize at 1 or 0 life. Like, that's kind of where you sit at for a little bit. And then you depend on your leader's effect and a 7K swing to eat up the board and get us a life back, which hopefully will get us into a trigger, which will prolong the game so we can keep going into the attrition. Well, with a card like this, we don't have to use the 4 Dawn investment that our leader's effect is. We can just get it for playing this 9-cost 9K and potentially KO one of their characters. And on top of that, sit on a 1-cost event like Barrier or the new, where is it? It's Arrow, Narukabura Arrow, right? This is the new, and we are running this in the deck currently. This is a 1-cost counter. If you have 2 or less life cards, or cards in your life area, give up to one of your opponent's leader or characters minus 3,000 power during this turn. It also has an excellent trigger. You may trash 2 cards from your hand. You may place up to 1 card from the top of your deck at the top of your life area. So a nice, it's like Ikaku Sovereignty where we can gain a life. But this one's only for 1, and it also justifies us running the 9-cost Yamato. So I really need y'all to tell me what y'all are thinking currently for the deck. I'm not opposed to like ideas of Isho. I'm not opposed to ideas like Katakuri. I'm also not opposed to just going a little more aggressive with the deck and just making a strong curve where maybe we run 2 of these and maybe even 3 of these. I don't know. You know, there's just, do we think about running Dressrosa or do we not? Sorry guys. There is some OP-05 cards. This is obviously not legal yet. Which will be really interesting when it is, though. Let me see something. Yeah, that will be very interesting when it is. But if there's a Monkey D. Luffy character, okay, never mind. It'll still be very interesting. Do we try to go more Navy with it? Do we try to go more Big Mom Pirates with it? Do we try to go a CP package? Do we try to go Dressrosa? I really feel like there are a lot of options. And by the way, once OP-05 does release, this will be very interesting to see. You know, the way that this deck functions, I feel like we're going to be filling up our trash pretty often. And this card just ends up becoming insane, I think, whenever we, in OP-05 in this kind of deck. Where it's like, okay, I'll add up to one black character card with the cost of 3 to 7, other than Rebecca, from my trash in my hand. So we're snagging back our Borsalinos, or we're snagging back our Sabos, or Monkey D. Luffy, if we are going to run the 7 cost. Then we're going to play up to one black character card with the cost of 3 or less from our hand rested. So, okay, now we're playing a Nefeltari Vivi, or a, there we go, or a Fukuro, or a Bartolomeo, and we can also get these 2 from our trash with that effect, and they're going to double over as blockers later, or they're going to eat attack right away next turn if we want them to, because remember, that Rebecca card, sorry guys, I know this is OP-05, sorry guys, sorry, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but that card is also a blocker, right? It's also a blocker, so just incredible. But anyway, I think this card will single-handedly open up so many doors for any decks in the format to run some type of splash variant of black. Yeah, well, that can splash black, obviously. I said that completely backwards. Any deck that splashes black, this is going to allow us to splash a Dressrosa package in any of those decks. So I mean, think about what this grabs, guys. Like I said, you'll be able to run like a package of Bartolomeo, Sabo, and Monkey D. Luffy in like whatever deck you want to now, and it'll probably double over in other ways as well. Because think about it, you can even like drop what's his name, Kobe, on people. So anyway, okay, sorry guys. Back to what we were saying. I think. For those who don't remember, let me go full screen here. No, that's not right. Let me zoom out some is what I want to do. So just to kind of put things in perspective from what I used to run that I was doing very well with. Let me get this one is the attack one, and then we'll grab the defense one. Okay, so just to put things in perspective, this was the last deck that I played of black-yellow that was very, how do I say it? It was aggressive, and it did very well for me, and I think this was the deck, in fact, I remember, this was the deck I was running where I got 3rd place in a pretty nice size tournament. I think it was like 20-player tournament, playing against very competent players, people who like to go to the big tournaments, go to the Gen Cons and, the regionals. Play on as many, what do they call it? The online stuff. They play in as many of those as they can. And I did really well with this deck here. And it was like a very aggressive version of Black Yellow, where you have pretty aggressive triggers in Helmeppo and Charlotte Cracker, double strike in Cracker and Smoker, brush with Katakuri, Charlotte Linlin 7 cost to complete your odd curve, and then of course ending with 10 cost Big Mom or Charlotte Linlin. This was a very solid deck, I'm not going to lie, and I don't think it's a bad idea to go this route with it. But then we also had, I also was running a deck that was a little bit more defensive with the CP package, and this was the deck that I got 2nd place with. And man, you know what my game plan was? Just drop Charlotte Linlins, and that's it. That was the whole game plan. Right? It was literally, I was playing 4 Charlotte Opera, 2 Kumadori. So anytime on turn 2, when I'm on the draw, drop those. Just drop a 4-cost 6K every single time. Sit back on a bunch of counters. You got Khalifa and Strusen for 2K counters, and then lots of blockers and Charlotte Brule, Fukuro, Borsellino, Hina, and Bluno. You got decent removal in Sakazuki and Thunderbolt when needed. Impact Wave, y'all know what that does. And then just 4 Pudding Searchers, 4 Charlotte Linlins. And it was like, okay, this deck right here, I made like at the last second, and just using inspiration from other decks I saw, and it's just such a raw idea of, hey, Charlotte Linlin is insane, so I'm just going to get to that card and drop it as soon as I can, and just chain as many of those together as I can. And then for the turns I can't do that, I'll use the leader, Charlotte Linlin, and I'll just get as much value as I can from her leader effect. Swinging for 7, and going up a life when I'm at 1 or less life. So there are these ideas here that, there's a lot of directions the deck can go, and I think ultimately going into OP-04, building an attrition style deck might be a good idea, but it might also be a bad idea, because if you're going with that style, why wouldn't you just run Queen? You know what I mean? So I'm starting to think that like maybe there's a more aggressive version we start building towards. I don't know. Or just go all in defense, like I said, and just go for Charlotte Linlin. Because remember, you know, Queen can't play Charlotte Linlin. Charlotte, I mean, it can if it wants, but it won't get the effect. For those who do not know, Charlotte Linlin, her on-play effect only works if your leader has the Big Mom Pirates type. So we do have that, right? Well, I deleted. I don't know what I'm doing here. Hang on, let me. Where is she at? Remember, Queen is Animal Kingdom Pirates, but Charlotte Linlin is, of course, Big Mom Pirates. So we can use the 10 cost Charlotte Linlin's effect, whereas they can't. Now, yes, they will have access to Red Rock. Yes, they will have access to Mihawk and 3,000 Worlds, which is not as big of a deal. Again, it still is not, you know, something we want to run into, but it's not quite as strong as Red Rock and Mihawk. But it's something we have to at least think about. It's definitely something we have to think about, and that's what makes me kind of support the. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. That's what kind of makes me support the Monkey D. Luffy engine, where it's like, okay, if you're going to drop Mihawks on me like that, then I'm going to follow up with the Luffy, right? Like, so in other words, what I'm saying is we should drop the, well, not drop, like play the Charlotte Linlins, you know, on curve every single time. 10 Dawn, drop it. And then when they answer with things like Red Rock, we can then play our Luffy. Or actually, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I know, guys. Y'all bear with me. We could also drop Luffy first and bait Red Rocks. Because are they just going to let us have a Luffy on the board? Probably not, right? Probably not. Maybe, but we'll see. But if they do remove that, okay, cool. You just opened up room for our Charlotte Linlin. And one more thing I do want to at least look at here. Let me zoom out a lot so we can see the deck. Like that already makes me think, like, maybe instead of going the Sakazukis, maybe we actually just go the Yamatos. You know what I mean? Like maybe this is actually the right play, where we have the Yamatos, the Charlotte Linlins, we have the Narukabura arrow, and then we have lots of ways to just keep gaining life over and over again with our Charlotte Linlin. I don't know. Only time will tell. Only play testing will really be able to tell us what we really need to do here. And if you guys have any ideas, if you have a list you're working on that you want me to try out, by all means, you know, throw it down in the comment section below. I have so many ideas on this. This is definitely not the final draft, so don't, you know, calm down, guys. Don't worry. It's not the final draft. This is not the final version of the deck. And I hate to always say this, but y'all know what I'm about to say. I will be playing a lot of Rebecca to start. But once I've settled in and had my fun playing Rebecca, I think it's going to be this deck right here that I really start putting time and effort back into. Because so far, like, yes, I came into this game like halfway through OP-02, but so far the most fun I've ever had playing this game was running this black-yellow Charlotte Linlin deck. I played a bunch of others, like, you know, a lot of just mono-black decks, but this was easily my favorite deck to play. Once we got it going, once we had it running the way we needed it. And specifically, the version that I was playing was this one. Like I told y'all, it's like well, actually, excuse me, the one that was probably most it's this one right here. This was the list I enjoyed the most because I just thought it was unique and fun. And there were so many times where Smoker or the 7-cost Linlin, like going turn 3 Smoker into turn 4 Charlotte Linlin 7-cost, just won me games because my opponent was like, oh, that's basically impossible to deal with this early on. You know, like Smoker, you literally can't deal with, right? You have to wait for him to turn sideways, and then you're countering out from a 7K body. On top of if you have any blockers already established, like Borsellino or Fukuro. And then Charlotte Linlin is a 7-cost 8K. She's just massive, and she either, you know, trash one of my opponent's lives or gain me a life. You know, and all this was so good at gaining my way, you know, or leading my way up to dropping the 10 cost. But anyway, yeah, this was probably my favorite version of the deck, and I'd like to return to this style of like the mid-range to late game attrition transition deck. We'll have to see. We will have to see. But all right, guys, that's about it. Like I said, if you have any comments, suggestions, deck lists you've been working on, please do share. randomly, I just thought of this. I'm working on a Discord for us so that we can all hang out on there, share ideas, talk about new cards coming out and all that good stuff. I am working on a Discord. Y'all bear with me, guys. I got a lot in store. I got a lot in the works, a lot on the horizon. So, okay. Appreciate you guys as always. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.